Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations. This is an episode of thanks. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing, because now today we're at 2,000 subscribers. And how wonderful is that? The answer is pretty wonderful. I'm very excited. I did not expect that to happen in this amount of time, or at all. It's been a year now, so this is also the year anniversary video, I guess. And because I started the channel in the first week or two of March in 2020. So it's been a year now. 2,000 subscribers in a year. Thank you everybody who has joined and been a part of this, left a comment, hit subscribe, checked out a PDF, or even checked out the app, which is something that I'll be developing more, and I'm really excited about how it is, and talking with people about it and stuff. It's been really fun. And how wonderful to be able to talk about Barry Harris for a year. So it really speaks to the richness of these ideas that that we can talk about this stuff freely, exploring things and always finding something new. It really speaks to the gift that Barry has given us. Of course, you have Chris's channel over at Things I Learned from Barry Harris that's been going for multiple years and is just awesome, talking about just Barry Harris too. So there's a lot to discuss, and there's so much more that I'm going to be talking about here in this vein with Barry's ideas. So this is a little video that I maybe won't put chord charts, and I just want to share some concepts for a question people have asked, which is, how would you do a Lydian type of sound? So we're going to look at Bill Evans's Blue and Green, and I've just been listening to it. I've not played over this tune a whole lot. I've heard it throughout my life, love the album, and we're just going to explore and just going to share some approaches. So there are three main things I'm going to do. One, whenever I see a major seventh, so like the song begins with B flat major seventh with a sharp 4 in the chart that I have from the real book, I'm going to think the major 6 and the 5. So instead of B flat major 6, I'm going to think F major 6. So, and if I borrow, which thing number 2, the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow a lot. Borrowing notes all the time. And so if I borrow the major 7th of that major 7th, I get that Lydian sound, right? So that's a nice way to do it. There are other ways, but that's one really great way. You could also borrow on the 6 and the 5 of the 6 and the 5. So instead of borrowing on instead of using F major 6 over B flat, you could use its 6 on the 5, which is C major 6. And that can get nice, sounds also. Okay, but we'll do F major 6. We're borrowing a lot, and then on something like D minor 7 pops up a lot. Bill Evans plays the minor 6 a lot in that sound. I'm going to interchange between D minor 7 and D minor 6, meaning F major 6 and D minor 6, which is family. So in other words, here's D minor 7, which is F major 6, which is the same thing that I was playing on the B flat. But then D minor 6 is like this. So those are the differences. Those are family. They share the same diminished. So I can go, and that sounds really nice. And so I'm just moving between them. See, I did diminished, F major 6, D minor 6. I'm just moving between them as I wish, to kind of access those colors, which if you practice your family, it's not that hard to do. It just takes some practice. So let's take a look at it. So there's an intro, right? That starts. And this is almost, the intro's almost done. Just to familiar that you'll hear this when you listen to the recording, right? And then Miles Davis comes in, and this is the chord I'm playing for the start of my little comping of this. Okay, so it approximates the kind of sound that we're going for here, and it is F major 6 with a borrowed note. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I could also think of this as B flat major 6 with a borrowed note, and that's another way of getting some of these sounds, but I'm thinking F major 6 with this note borrowed, and then also the melody. Like Chopin, Bill Evans likes to have lots of accented, like strong metrically placed borrowed notes, like diminished notes, which Barry Harris points out Chopin does a lot, and Bill Evans does it too. And Bill Evans was known to love Chopin. I think that might be an influence there. So now I'm thinking of this. Now I can do motion. I can go. That's getting me into the second measure with the A7. So what I did was I did some motion on F major 6, which is why I want to think in this way, so I can do those contrapuntal moves. So I'm going to go. So all of that is just moving through these first two chords. So I'm just doing thirds. I'm doing, the contrary motion stuff I've talked to you guys about. So these are things that I've documented elsewhere, and I will continue to do the chord charts in my videos, but for this one I thought I'd just share the general ideas. Okay? So I go, I think Bill Evans does something like maybe, which is just F major 6, the way I'm thinking of it, F major 6, diminished, F major 6, and then tritones minor, which is what I'm doing on A7. Tritones minor is the minor 6, a half step up from a dominant 7th chord. So A7, I go up a half step, I get that B flat minor 6. I've talked to you guys, and I'm just doing motion in that. I'm borrowing on it a lot. It is the minor 6, B flat minor 6 is the minor 6 a fifth above E flat, and E flat is the tritone of A. So, so I go, whoops, right? Maybe borrow. I borrowed a diminished note below this and above this. And I'm to D minor. I'm doing D minor 6. So little thirds, and then this beautiful sound, which is D flat 7, but I have that Lydian kind of sound, and I'm just using a borrowed note from the 6 on the 5 for a D flat. So you can do a 6 on the 5 on any dominant chord, and you can borrow to find a Lydian type of sound. So then that's C minor 7 and F7. And C minor 7, I'm just doing E flat major 6, so, and then maybe, then I'm doing, on the F7, it has a really flat 9 sound and a sharp 9 sound type of thing, flat 9 really. And I'm going, I'm doing the diminished, octatonic, right? I have an episode on that. And borrowing notes, I get something like this. I go, whoops. So that's borrowing. Or I could go like that. So, and then resolving it to B flat major. B flat major 7, and I have that Lydian sound still because I'm doing that F major 6 on top, and then A7, which so then it goes to D minor 6. E7, and for E7 I'm doing tritones minor, A minor, and then D minor 7 or D major 6, D minor 6, sorry. So Bill Evans does a lot of things like this. stuff like that, working his way back up. That is mixing between D minor 6 and D minor 7, otherwise known as F major 6. Or also I hear, I'm not 100%, I haven't like analyzed or I haven't transcribed it note for note at all. I'm just approximating. But I hear, you know, that's just C major over the D, doing C major in thirds, you know, which works too. So, but you could do, that's diminished notes on D minor 6 or F major 6. So that kind of sound. That's all D minor 6. Okay, so then, you know, they speed up the tempo whenever whenever Miles isn't playing, basically. It's faster tempo. At some point, he does this beautiful thing like that, and then that happens at some point. What is that? So that is, I go, this is at the end of the tune, it goes A minor, and then it goes back, last measure of the tune. Whoops. So you could do this. This is just D minor 6 with a borrowed note. That's part of the melody. Borrowed note, F to C sharp. And then you're back to, something. I hear him do something. You know, little playing. But it's really such a fun tune. They change the tempo. They go fast. They go slow. It's super fun to play along with. I haven't memorized all those tempo changes. I'm sure they did it differently in different performances, but it does sound very planned as far as like deciding, you know, those things. I mean, but I don't know too much about it. I just think it's beautiful. So I hope this has kind of helped to answer a little bit of that question of how you get kind of a Lydian sound and how you get those colors. There's so much color from borrowing available to us. And the cool thing is, I don't have to ask myself, what is the chord? And I don't have to have just one chord that I do. I can get the idea, and borrowing all sounds beautiful. There's different shades and different colors, and you can find pockets that you love, but then you can explore new ones. And you can make movement the whole time, which is really wonderful. You know, I've been kind of stuck on a kind of sound that I love. That's just some borrowing on it, the tritones minor for A7, so I do that kind of thing a lot these days because I'm into it. You know, I haven't done that one before. Then, you know, I haven't done it on those strings. There's all kinds of things you could just instantly ask a question. So again, it's about asking interesting questions and looking at this stuff and really being committed to the scales of chords and to these concepts of borrowing and things, and not trying to switch your logic or way of thinking to alt or to whatever, but just thinking in this way and really committing to that. I mean, it's just endlessly rewarding to me. So when people sometimes ask a question like, is that like an alt thing? I don't think alt thing ever. So I've never seen a value to thinking alt thing. Things that are valuable to me are being able to move fast and do movement, contrapuntal motion, and moving in time instead of just having a static entity of a chord that I've decided I like. I can have those too, but I gravitate much more to movement. And that's what Barry has talked about. I think he quotes Ornette Coleman talking about, I don't play chords, I play movement. So I think that's a really valuable thing, and it's a very deep thing that we can keep exploring that concept. So anyway, this episode went a little longer than expected, but I thought I would just kind of share with you some of those ways of doing this. So lots of borrowing, major 6 on the 5, interchanging between the minor 7 and the minor 6 idea, or playing family, in other words. That's what we have. So thank you so much, everybody. And I just also thought it's a little freeing to plan on not having chord charts up, because then I can just kind of play through and talk a little freely. It's nice to do every once in a while. More chord charts for the next episode. And there's more to come. So talk to you guys soon. Keep practicing.